Alrighty. There we go. So we're gonna be checking out this segment from CNN where these people apparently, I don't know. Supreme Court allows Trump to ban transgender troops. All right, let's see what these people are talking about. Let's go.
The main argument, Elena, that the Trump administration is making here is that that allowing transgender troops to serve hurts lethality and it hurts readiness. What do you say to that?
Well, there's no evidence of that. I think that, if that was the case, we've seen transgender people serving honorably for the last several years. And what has changed between now and then? They've just woken up to a new administration who has a different...
Wait a minute. Is this person transgender? I mean, we don't know these days, but I'm automatically like, hold on. I gotta get myself together. But I'm like, automatically with the Kermit the Frog golf ball in the throat sounding, some or another. Let's see. Look. Jawline. Yeah. I'm sure this person is transgender. And so therefore this person is going to stand up for transgender rights. Well, so be it.
Different outlook on their ability to serve. So I think that, if you talk to people who are serving on active duty alongside transgender troops, they're not making these complaints. The leaders in the military are not making these complaints. These are political complaints about military service. So I think that all of the courts that have looked at this issue and looked at it, and said there's nothing in fact to back up what the government is claiming here. In fact, the judges challenged them to produce evidence, and they couldn't produce any evidence. So I think it's a really dark day for our country, where basically we're allowed to discriminate against a class of people.
Scott, if they can't produce evidence that this actually does, in fact, have an impact on readiness, I mean, how is this not then just discrimination?
Well, it's the opinion of the commander-in-chief, who, according to our Constitution, is the head of the military. I mean, regardless of anyone's opinion or anybody's, whatever side you're on, whether you're for it or against it, at some juncture, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, and he has and should have broad latitude to determine how the armed forces should be operated. And so I think that's what he's doing here. I think that's ultimately what the court said today, was that the president is the commander-in-chief, and we gotta respect that.
But
under our Constitution.
But I mean, to her point, if there's not a downside, and it's been going on for years now, and I mean, I'm just presenting your argument to them.
Yeah.
What is the argument other than Trump, Hegseth, just doesn't want trans people in the military?
Well, I mean, I think that the president, we'll ultimately see. I think that's why the court is allowing the president to move forward with this until it works itself through the court system. Maybe the Supreme Court will be the final arbiter here to say, yeah or nay, you can do this. But ultimately, I think the court is showcasing deference to the executive, saying that, look, you're the president, you're over the military. You do, for the most part, get to sort of dictate the standards of our military. And I don't really see how you can push back against that. Again, we'll see what happens in the court.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I can. What if the president wakes up tomorrow and says, I don't want any black people in the military? Do we give deference to him?
No,
wait a second. It's not.
Okay. No. You can't do that. The number one reason is they get on my fucking nerves when they conflate what anybody else goes through, and then they bring that to black folk. In this particular case, with trans people, it is 100% a choice. I have no choice in this. This is brown. I have no choice in that. And even the trans people own logic, lack of logic that they have, but in their own feelings, they say, well, what's a woman? Whoever thinks she's a woman, right? It's whatever you feel, which by deduction, that is a choice. And so that's why, and they get on my fucking nerves every time when something happens and this, that, and the other, whatever the issue is, they say, well, what if he said he didn't want black people to do this or that? They get on my nerve when they do that shit. Even with like the LGBTQ flag. Have your flag. I don't give a fuck. Have it all you want. Why you gotta have the black there? I know they got the brown there, and I ain't concerned about them motherfuckers. Why you gotta have the black there? Why do a lot of the things that propel people, they always bring it back to, well, what if it affected a black person in this way, one way or the other? And it's normally some type of, just white liberal. Normally a white liberal female. Normally. How about you talk to black folks, normal thinking black folks such as myself, and ask, how do we think about said situation? Whenever, whatever it is. In this particular situation, being in the Marine Corps for 4 years, you want no distractions. No distractions. There's this saying in the Marine Corps, if the Marine Corps wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one. Okay, that's, today that's some type of toxic masculinity, male type shit. But the reason for that is you don't want no distractions. No distractions at all. And the government was paying for these people to have these surgeries and these hormones, and he to become she and she to become he, and they and them and us and ours and yours and whatever the fuck all that confusing nonsense is, and then get mad at us normal people because we don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. In this particular case, readiness. You want your military to be focused on what they have to do, because you know why? Do you know why? Their lives are at risk. We don't need our troops. We don't need anybody for that matter, but our troops. 18. Most of the military is young. Most of the military is below 30 years old. Women and men. We don't want them to be fucking worried about what should I call that. At this point, it's just that. Because I don't know whether to say sir, ma'am, this, that, and the other. So in the military, when you become an officer, all the enlisted people have to refer to you as sir or ma'am. We have to. So what if you're an officer and I'm an enlisted person, which I was, and you look like a ma'am to me, and I'll say, yes, ma'am, I ma'am. Am I gonna get in trouble if you identify as a sir? That's the shit we don't need to worry about in the military. We don't need to worry about that. You know what we need to worry about? Staying alive. Yeah. And during my lifetime, more than ever, even though supposedly we're not involved in any active wars. I guarantee you got troops in Israel. We do. You got troops in Ukraine. We do. We got troops in Yemen, Syria. There's troops. We have troops. The last thing I want to worry about is, am I addressing you in the gender that you choose? It's always a choice to identify with. That shit is on you and you only to deal with, not us. Stop this bullshit.
Ridiculous. It's not ridiculous because you're discriminating against a group of people in a very similar way. No,
I knew you were going to say that.
Excuse me, I'm
curious, why is it ridiculous? I mean, you just said the president should be the one who just decides. Right. So if he decides to wakes up tomorrow and says, I think it's bad for morale, it's bad for cohesiveness, for there to be black people in the military, Latino people in the military. Just in her hypothetical scenario, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing here?
I mean,
well, for one, because it's against the law, Abby. We don't need to go any further than that. It is against the law. And on top of that, black people comprise a much greater percentage of the overall military than the 12 total in all the branches of the military than these people. Because I guarantee you, if these people were affected and if they were a large population of the military, they're not even a large population of society. They're like 1.2%. I don't understand why they have such a big voice, but I really do understand why they have such a big voice is because the Democrats are Satan. They're the devil, and anything that they can do to... Oh, hold on. What was that? Oh no, something happened on my phone. So if anything they can do to push up against families and having babies and forwarding society along, that's what they're gonna do. You don't believe me? This is what Democrats push. They push unaliving babies like nobody else. They celebrate. Is that in promotion of families? No, it's not. Democrats promote anything LGBTQ. They celebrate it like nobody else. Does that promote families? Does a man and a man getting together and a woman and a woman getting together, does that promote families? And we can go much further than that. But even if we stop right there, this is the party of Satan.
are you really going to go down this ridiculous?
I'm sorry.
This is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument.
Well, okay.
The president and Secretary of Defense.
I like Scott Jennings said, are you really going to go down this ridiculous road? No.
Have an argument here. They believe that readiness and unit cohesion and overall operations of the military are impacted by this. That is their opinion, and that is the opinion of the commander-in-chief, who the Constitution gives broad latitude to run the armed forces. So that's their opinion. You're allowed to have one. You're allowed to have one. You're also allowed to run for...
Look at this thing's face. This thing can't wait to say something. Bruh, you did all this stuff to stop your facial hair from growing, and look at this, your neck, why? It's called insanity. That's what this is called. It's called schizophrenia. I'm not calling names. I'm just stating facts.
President, become commander-in-chief yourself. But until you do, he's the
I
commander-in-chief.
have to say, I didn't hear an answer to the hypothetical, right? I just didn't hear it. Okay, the definition of discrimination, according to the American Psychological Association, discrimination is the unfair or prejudicial treatment of people or groups based on characteristics such as race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. What is the difference between prohibiting certain groups like transgender people from serving versus, people based on their race?
Okay, so she gonna put that definition up there, gender, and all of those other things. It doesn't say anything as far as identifying as. So that right there is invalid to this debate. It's invalid. Because if you're a gender, you are what you are. Your gender is not what you identify as. Your gender is what you were assigned to at birth, just like your race, just like your sex, all of those things. So that particular definition, as you put that up there, Miss Abby Phillip, is invalid.
Or even their gender, frankly.
I personally think there's a difference, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, I will say,
Do you believe that race and are you saying that the quality of race and the quality of transgender are the same?
I'm just asking the question.
That's
because
what she
I think
said.
You're making there's a distinction, but you're not explaining why.
No, I'm asking you guys brought up the hypothetical. Are you arguing that someone's race is the same as someone choosing to become transgender?
But you're arguing,
Choosing.
You've made the argument twice that the commander-in-chief's opinion is all that matters. You've said that twice now.
Well,
So
under
if
the
they wake up-
Constitution, yes.
So if he wakes up tomorrow,
You've said that twice now. I'm doing whatever I can to sound like a feminine being, something I don't know, but here's what I'm gonna do. Did I get throat surgery? Or did I eat a whole bunch of Sour Patch Kids gummies and they haven't melted in the back of my throat yet? So I'm going to sound like this.
it says it's not okay to be gay or lesbian in CERB because that's his opinion. There's nothing to back that up. They meet the physical standards, they meet the intellectual standards, they have voluntarily decided to serve their country, to give their life for this country, so many of us don't have to.
So exactly what I thought. This person, Elena Kupek, founder and president, Gender Research Advisory Council. Plus education. Yeah, good job. And let's continue with the Muppet Show.
That it's the opinion without any basis in fact. That's what matters more than the Constitution of equal rights and equal protection.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say the other thing, or there's a few things that bother me about this, and mostly it was the language of the policy, right? When you're reading at some of these words, transgender people as inherently untruthful, undisciplined, dishonorable. Now, that's like a very weighty thing to say about people who are courageously deciding to protect this country. The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree with that.
That's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh no, she not gonna go there. She isn't with two places that. So these Democrats and these liberals all talk about democracy, right? So democracy is supposed to be that the majority rule, which in this particular example, that's 80%. So now you don't want to go with that. And then you're going to bring up Martin Luther King, and I'm going to let her say a little bit more about him, and I'm going to tell you about him.
Was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't. And so
as we prop up Dr. Martin Luther King. This dude was a communist. He was a Marxist. He was a philanderer. If you don't know what philanderer is, it's multiple women on the road, orgies, and he loved him some white women along with him and, his crew. But they prop him up and then they point to him. That's not a good example to use, Miss Jemele Hill. If you did any research. And how am I supposed to take you seriously? Because I think your brain is warped. Because Miss Jemele Hill, you have all this white woman, is actually probably Indian hair, in your head. Black women don't grow blonde hair. They don't. This all is coming, it's tied to your brain when it has all these carcinogens and all these bad chemicals in it. And that's why I understand why you think the way that you think. You think Dr. Martin Luther King is such a person that we should aspire to be. I understand that, because your brain is all gone, because you have did these type of things right here with all these chemicals in it for as long as I've seen you.
The whole point is when you target one group, and inevitably that line moves to everybody else. And I'm not saying he's coming for black people tomorrow, but considering that this is a military, or this is a leadership that is already using DEI as code word for black people already when it comes to the military, suddenly when you don't protect the most vulnerable, you wind up making it worse for everybody else that's in the marginalized community. You don't think trans people are vulnerable in this country?
So is it your position that the commander-in-chief should recruit people who you're describing as vulnerable into the
he should recruit people who want to serve and protect this country. And it's really kind of ironic considering he dodged the draft and he suddenly has an opinion about it.
So why is it attack on him? Because he dodged the draft, right? Why not keep it focused on the military? They always take it back to him. Because these clowns are so delusional and so deranged, they really have no argument. Here's the argument. Whatever Trump does, we don't like it, and we're gonna find narratives to tell you why we don't like it. That's pretty much what it is at this point, and we know it. And they lie to themselves, and they lie to each other, and they lie to the people. And unfortunately, because some people don't do what I do, and others, such as myself, we look into these things and like, these people are fucking evil. These people are, these Democrats are fucking evil. And that don't mean the Republicans are fucking angels and they're hanging up. Oh, yeah. That is not what that means, right? But I can tell you, these Democrats are fucking evil. Tell me the last time recently, what was it? The mayor of Newark, New Jersey. His last name was Barakas or some shit like that. So he actually broke into an ICE detention center. Oh, he was just checking on the well-being of all the illegal immigrants that were housed at this detention center. Take that same motherfucker. When the last time he checked on just a regular old prison or a county jail that he might have in his area? You know, Newark, New Jersey. one of the biggest cities in New Jersey. They may have a jail there. Is there any news about him trying to go in there and just check on the well-being of actual American citizens or something like that? No, they don't do that. These y'all Democrats. You got 2, 3, 4 Democrats going down to El Salvador to bring back a gangbanger who beat his wife and was human trafficking people. And they going down there to stomp down and have fucking margaritas with him. When the last time they did something like that and go hard for an American citizen? I mean, I don't know. If y'all can point to a time where that happened, just let me know. This is what y'all Democrats do, but y'all keep fucking voting for the Satanist, communist, degenerate party, and you're getting what you're getting. You're getting cities such as Memphis and Chicago and New York and Los Angeles all fucking in shambles, all led by Democrats. So, yeah, y'all keep it up. Keep on voting for them.
And Elena, you pointed this out. This is going through the court system. The other side has the opportunity to present evidence.
Except for tomorrow, there should be thousands of people who wake up and get processed out. The harm will be done.
And I certainly understand that. But again, there's still an opportunity for it to continue through the proper process.
Okay, but they wake up tomorrow without a job, being removed from their commands. Operational readiness will be impacted. And so there's commands that are going to be left without leaders. There's going to be real life implications for theaters around the world where our military is protecting this country. And for what end?
She said operational readiness will be impacted. That's true. But as I stated a long time ago in this stream, operational readiness is already impacted by the mere fact that these people are going through these transitions while they're in there and they're getting paid for. And I don't know a lot of these trans people. I know one personally. And the mood that this thing goes through is just taking these hormone drugs and going through all this type of stuff is just crazy. Now, I don't want to base my small, very small, minute, which really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, evidence on all of these 1.2% of people. But just thinking normally, fairly, if you're a man, you already have things that you go through already. Your hormones, your testosterone, controlling your emotions and all this. So now you're taking drugs to actually suppress all of that. What headspace are you going to be in? What headspace would you have to be in the first place to even think about taking those? You're a man. Just fucking be a man.
So I guess my point is, if a strong enough evidence is presented throughout the court process all the way up to SCOTUS, and it's ultimately believed, okay, hey, the other side has enough evidence where we can't rule in favor of the executive, then the executive, I believe, would respect that decision. But we have to allow this thing to move forward and see what was your
experience in the military like? Did you serve after you transitioned? Or?
No, I served before my transition.
So you weren't in during your at all?
No. Okay. I came to know that I was transgender while I was serving with a top secret and above clearance, and I knew that I couldn't pass my polygraph test, and so I had to make a tough decision. Do I stay true to my character, my values, my integrity, or do I choose to leave this role and live a private life? And so I think that the challenge is that the injunction was to allow people to continue to serve while the courts played out. Right? So there would be no.
I think what this Elena dude is saying is that it came to understand that, well, there's probably money to be made. And if you're willing to give up your integrity, you're willing to give up who you are to make money, again, it's another form of delusion, another form of insanity, and another form of you being guided by what Satan is telling you. That's what that demonstrates. I am not willing. I don't care what the outfit is. You know, the WWE, even back in the day, WWF, it was Ted DiBiase. He said, everybody has a price. Some people don't have a price. If you presented me with that lifestyle and you talk about $100 million, nah, I'm good. Nope. I don't want it. No. The money that I make, and I'm sane. I would like to think I'm sane. I would like to think that I'm content. And even if we want to say happy, I think I'm there. What would $100 million do for me? I mean, different car, a bigger house that I don't need. I don't need a different car. I mean, what? An airplane? I don't even want to travel. I've already done that. What would $100 million do for me? Now, it would help me set up the rest of my family. Now, that would be a reason to think about it. But once I think about it, I'm out of it. Nope. Don't want it. Because I think my family will want me more than they want the money. Maybe I'm wrong.
No harm done to these folks, giving the courts an opportunity to work through these issues so people wouldn't lose their jobs. Now they're going to wake up tomorrow without jobs. They can't just come back in for serving 22 years, waiting for this court case to work its way through for 6, 9 months, 2 years.
So you hadn't, so was there a prohibition on you transitioning while you were in the military?
Back in that time, there was a ban against serving if you were, the don't ask, don't tell policy.
This was in the mid-90s.
This was in the mid-90s. Yeah.
So, but can I ask you a question? Because I think this is relevant. You know, Elena was serving, left because of this policy. How many people is it okay to lose who are competent, who are doing their jobs because for reasons like that? I mean, at the time, she could have been a gay or lesbian, and it probably would have been the same result as well. I mean, I think that's why ultimately they ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
I mean, I think
it's discrimination.
I think ultimately the Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary of Defense have to decide comprehensively about troop levels, troop readiness, and unit cohesion, and overall recruitment. They're actually quite happy with recruitment right now.
But that has never been a military standard that transgender people have not met. So the military standards have not been lowered for people who are transgender. And I think that's the issue here. And the courts that have looked at this issue in depth have said this.
Well, what she just said is not true, because even if they're not transgender, they're people that just don't meet the standards. Just people. We ain't talking about trans when we gonna classify people. I know, I've seen it. They just didn't meet the standards. So when she say there has not been a standard that transgenders haven't met, it's just not true. It's just something to further their narrative. But let's continue with this.
This is pure animus, that there is no.
It's pure animus.
No evidence of this. So if you actually take the rhetoric out of it and look at the issue at its heart, all the courts say the same thing. So I think that's the travesty here.
I believe the president has the constitutional right to do this, and I also think you have the constitutional right to make your case on it, and everybody's going to be in court about it. And I think you should continue to
But you also
make your
talked about-
case.
Sorry, but you also talked about unit
Democrats.
cohesion, and that's exactly the same kind of argument that they made against integrating the military when Harry Truman did it. I'm sorry, it's the same argument. It's the same.
I mean, is she wrong about that though? I mean, she is right about
People who did
that.
not want to
from a
serve
factual
white.
perspective.
This lady in the green blazer is out to fucking lunch. She don't know shit about shit. She even made sure Michael right here, he's normally very calm and collected and this, that, and she made him say some expletive. At least one expletive.
I'm aware.
White people didn't want to serve black people because of unit cohesion. So now you're saying engagement.
Can I just, we only have a couple seconds. Chair Michael, I see that you're frustrated that she made that argument, but is she wrong that unit cohesion was used as an excuse to keep the military segregated for a long time?
I think we should
And
focus
also
on-
don't ask, don't tell when it comes to discriminating against gay and lesbian people.
We should
Let
focus on
him
the
answer.
issue at hand. That's what I think.
Same argument.
But I
So no answer.
no, we should focus on the issue at hand. I don't know why we keep going to bringing up race. Let's just focus on the issue at hand.
Look, it's race, sexual orientation. We've seen this twice, right? In two major junctures for the military. I'm just wondering if she is drawing parallels here between the arguments that are being made to maintain this policy.
I
Do you
reject
think that
those
she's-
parallels. That's my answer. I reject the parallels. I think it's a ludicrous
Do you
parallel.
feel like you had a choice in your life as to what you were going to do? Or no, of course not. The same way that I didn't have a choice to be born who I was, the same way you didn't have a choice to be born who you were. So why do we get exclusions and she doesn't?
I didn't say that Elena
Well, not
should be
Elena.
excluded.
Okay, why under this policy?
My
Why?
opinion here is let it work itself through the court system.
And I have no problem with
That's-
that, but
that's
just
my-
don't
that's-
fire people while it's working through the courts. That's what these injunctions were
Get
doing,
rid
letting
of
it
them.
work through the courts. And the Supreme Court, I think, really just delegitimized itself even further today. And I think that's a challenge for all of this country when we don't have the checks and balances of the courts, checking the executive power, and Congress checking the executive.
Yeah, this whole shit is like, it's a basic thing. It's just basic. It's the Democrats just don't get it. I think they get it. But Satan is running everything. They just do what they do.